The trauma of the July 2021 unrest remains quite strong for many people today. Durban and Pietermaritzburg in the province were amongst the hotspots for violence. And Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan joins us now from Pietermaritzburg as we continue to reflect on those losses. Karinda, good morning. Been watching your crossings at various locations, and the devastation was almost complete. Some of the shopping centres that you visited, like the Brookside Mall, for example, completely razed to the ground. It has now come up, seems to be stronger than ever. It's not the same for many other businesses who experienced that devastation and have simply not been able to rise from the ashes. Talk to us more about the impact to the city.
Indeed, good morning to you, Iman. Not at all. Many businesses have not opened at all. Many people have lost the businesses that they tried to save up for many years, completely burnt to the ground over just 8 days in July 2021. And as we reflect on the week that was, I just want to take you into the South African Human Rights Commission hearings that happened just months after the unrest in 2021. So in Durban and Johannesburg, the commissioners held public hearings where witnesses came forward to tell their stories. Among these witnesses were families of victims who had died during stampedes in malls and warehouses, victims of violence that had started and escalated because of racism. They spoke about the beatings that they endured and the words that were spat out to them at some roadblocks, for example, that we saw in Phoenix. We saw business owners come and tell the tale of how they lost their assets, their businesses that they had saved up for many years. And then we saw business representatives speak about the destruction amounting to millions that we now know sits at over 50 billion rand. And then we saw public representatives take to the stand to say they tried their best. In all of this, the South African Human Rights Commission investigated and released a report this year, actually in January. They looked at the social, economic, spatial, as well as political factors around the unrest. And in it, they also, apologies for that, and in it, they also looked at how this was orchestrated. They say they found that these events of the July unrest was well orchestrated. They went on to say that there was a significant investment as well into the execution of the July unrest. They say that there were two types of role players. Those who were well-resourced to organize and execute the mobbings of ATMs, the blocking of highways like the N2 and N3, and the orchestration of putting in other role players to go into warehouses, factories, and buildings like the Assets building behind me to set the building alight and then begin a looting spree. The unrest report then also found that while the timing of the July unrest coincided with the incarceration of the former President Jacob Zuma, they could find no link between the two. Now, as I leave you with that thought, I'll take you to a bite of a business representative, Melanie Vaness. In fact, in the next hour at just after 10 o'clock, we'll go back to Melanie and have an interview with her, sit down about what has happened, what has changed, if anything, over the past couple of years. But in this bite, this testimony she gave to the Human Rights Commission back in 2021, it was one that when she said these words in that room, you could actually feel many of the families that were sitting there be taken back to that moment of time. It was actually quite a heart-wrenching moment when she gave this account. Take a listen.
With the amount of liquor that was in the premises there that was looted, it was difficult to tell. With the road it just looked like some kind of dreadful bomb had gone off. It was a war zone. There was broken stuff and machinery and everything lying all over the road, all the way down, and in front of the road is Mzanduzi River, and it was really along the side of the road on the pavement and down the bank towards the river, where there were people that were lying dead, and it was absolutely soul-destroying to stand there and see people just left discarded like rubbish on the side of the road. It was absolutely horrific. There was no visible injuries that you could see, I think, either in the stampede or as a result of the overindulgence of liquor and the really cold temperatures next to the river that night. I don't know what the outcomes of those autopsies were, but to see people being loaded up into vans to be taken to the morgue is just it just made me think that whoever was behind this, what kind of a person, what kind of people allow this kind of thing to go on without concern for the consequences, for the people that were caught up in it and killed, and for the people whose livelihoods were lost.
It's true, Iman. There were bodies discarded on the side of the road. We saw them. I'm here in Pietermaritzburg, but I'll take you back to Queen Nandi Drive in Durban, where under that bridge, as we walked along that bridge, saw the bodies of seemingly 2 young people just lying there. And there was no rescue service, no ambulance available to come and take the bodies. There was no one able to go down and cover the bodies. And that was 2 among over 300 people who died during this unrest. People that died during stampedes in warehouses and factories, people who were killed. And of course, we have seen the business losses, the job losses. And earlier this morning, we mentioned that while the city has been cleaned up, people have picked up the pieces of their towns, the scars still remain, and that is what we are exploring today. So stay with me, because I'm going to speak to Melanie at about 10:15, and we'll recount what she said and what her view is with regards to what has happened 3 years later.
Karinda, words fail. Thank you for that crossing.